Hello, Mixler people.
Oh, the picture you took is of me.
I pressed the button I thought was live broadcast. Hey everybody, we're live. We're starting here in just a moment. And if you end up watching this again on YouTube after the fact, just know I haven't trimmed this part off yet. So the actual episode will be coming up. You could either just jump to it and however long it takes us to get there. Like, I'll wave my hands like this when we start the episode.
He'll whip his hair back and forth when we start the episode.
What's scary is I can do that.
I know.
The audio doesn't line up with the mouth anyway.
It's true. It's kind of not helping.
Which audio are you talking about?
I'm not actually sure, but any audio and any mouth that you can try to match up, they're not matching up.
That's strange.
It's just, I'm sure it's just a delay.
Because when Hunter talks, her mouth doesn't move.
Oh, fun.
It takes a bit.
Oh yeah.
You have special powers, Hunter.
Yes, I've always wanted special powers.
Okay, see, and my
okay.
picture didn't even come up. I mean, not that it needs to, but if that was
Well,
an error.
you won't see your own picture come up.
And the live stream is actually only showing Hunter.
Oh, okay.
Yes!
It's the Hunter show
Yeah.
from now on.
Now
Yeah,
it'll
why don't you
automatically
two have your
switch.
cameras on?
Yeah, no, not happening. That would require, like, hairstyling and makeup. And
I went and put a little makeup on anyway, so I wouldn't be too shiny, but it doesn't seem to be working with this setup.
We can't notice the shine because the light is just bright enough. Don't worry.
What he means is you look great.
Is that better?
Now turn the light back on.
I hate the lighting for my webcam too. I need a better webcam or better lighting or something.
I just bought some lighting here. That's why we're all brightly lit.
Nice.
you're a
Okay.
professional.
Yeah.
My
All right,
eyes are
let's-
going to get tired. I'm just going to sit through the rest of the podcast with my eyes closed.
I am going to just leave the video down here.
That was
and
his
hide it
you'll
from-
get used to it laugh.
Yeah. And I do not want to see my own video. That's fine. Okay.
Whoa, Aaron,
Whoa, what?
I saw your eye. Whoa, there's her eye.
What are you watching, Jeremy?
Our live stream, it's
Oh.
just flipping back and forth on the Google, on the
It's kind of-
Googles.
It's kind of hypnotic. It's like it just keeps changing.
It's really strange.
Okay, Hunter, Aaron, Jacqueline, make sure that your recording program is set to use your preferred microphone.
Yep. You can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay, I think I changed it already. Let me just double
Yes.
check.
Wait, is it
Yep.
built-in
And it-
input?
No, it would be the USB audio thing.
Not there.
Hunter,
Just
did you
said-
just change something? Or
No.
Did someone
I
just
brought
change?
this. I brought the screen up to make sure it said my mic.
That's loud.
and That's all I did.
That's all I did
Daniel, mine doesn't have the USB option for some reason.
Inside of Google? Or, I mean, inside of Audacity?
Yeah, it says built-in microphone, built-in input, which is
Okay.
weird.
Go
My
to the
microphone is
transport.
on.
Yeah, go to the transport menu and choose rescan audio devices or rescan devices, something like that.
Killian Jones says it's like the Willy Wonka movie. It's rapidly changing. Sometimes there's an eyeball.
There it is.
I'm sorry that my profile picture is my eyeball, okay?
Little eye
I
of
think it's
Sauron over
cool.
there.
I think it's cool. It's very funny to just see the eyeball.
It's like, Froosh, I'm looking through the peak all at you, because it puts the circle on it.
Do we get the little thinger that Hunter has?
Thinger.
The little
The lower third.
Lower third.
Oh, that's what you were talking about.
Yeah, that's what it's called. No,
I'm so sorry.
you won't be able to since you're not streaming your webcam.
Fine. I don't
Okay,
want that
Daniel,
anyway.
it fixed itself.
Okay.
And it's on mono, right?
Yeah.
Can we
My
make
audio
it
okay?
not
Yeah, it's
keep
good.
flipping around?
I can manually flip it for the audience.
I just have a feeling that it's, with as many of us as there are, and with our style, that it might be kind of...
By style,
Yeah,
me
you can make
crazy?
it stick to.
Yeah.
You can make it just stick to your guys' room.
It's really
was
it's really
terrible
sensitive. That's okay. Google Hangouts doesn't judge. It'll show your eye anyway,
Yeah,
even
can't
if
you
you
just
have poor grammar.
click on, like, if Daniel clicks
Yeah.
on Daniel J, it stays.
Yeah, it will. Like right now, everyone should be seeing just us, I believe.
Even if I'm talking.
Yeah,
Except
there's a delay, but nope, it's still doing it.
because
is.
there's a delay.
Yeah. Yeah, and the problem is that it's not smart enough to distinguish between laughing and talking. So anytime anybody laughs or coughs or bumps something on the desk, it's like flipping back and forth a little schizophrenically.
Well, like, we do that for Ugly Ducklings all the time. When we're interviewing someone, we make them stay in the middle. So it should be able to be done. Oh, it looks like it's staying now. So it was probably just the delay, because I'm talking and I don't see my eye.
Oh, I see your eye.
Yeah, you may in this here in the Hangout.
Oh, okay.
But here's what I've done is I muted Aaron or turned off the video for Aaron and Jacqueline, so it won't even switch to their profile photos. So it will just switch between us and Hunter for the live video. Okay, let's get this started.
I spy with Aaron's little eye.
I know you said you turned off their video, but on my screen it looks like they turned off their mics.
Oh,
Like, I have the little mic with the line through it.
yeah. Oh. Okay. So that's
They
what
are
that button does.
Strangely silent, are they not?
Okay, Jacqueline and Aaron, you'll need to unmute yourselves, I believe. Or
It's
no, I
as though-
unmuted you. There we
You
go.
unmuted me.
Okay.
Can you hear
The
me?
voices of 4 podcasters cried out, and 2 of them were suddenly
Yeah, we can hear
silenced.
Oh, the people will deal.
The people, the people.
Okay.
Vi är ready and ja.
Just tell me when you want me to start recording.
Yeah, go ahead. Aaron, start your recording. Everyone start your recordings.
Okay. It started.
Mine started.
Okay, Aaron, clap. Hunter, clap.
Oh.
Jacqueline, clap. Okay. Great.
Was that too loud of a clap?
What'd you do?
No, that's fine.
It sounded like there was a bit of an explosion.
A bit of
Yeah.
pixie dust.
No.
Like, you hit the mic and then clapped.
I didn't, I swear. Sorry.
That's okay.
I did
All
go
right.
close to the mic to make sure it went through.
Ah, that's fine. Here we go. For real. Arms waving that we're actually starting live now.
I'm waving to you, just can't see.
Okay, episode 151.
Hope everyone likes how I took my gum out.
We appreciate it.
I just want gum.
You want gum? I've got like 10 packs sitting right next to me.
I can't have gum right now.
Aw.
Oh.
And does anyone have a fan running in the background?
I do.
I do.
Could you point it at us?
Would you mind turning that off?
I did. If you see
You
me
mean-
sweating, that would be why.
You mean not a computer fan, right? You mean like
Yeah,
a
not a
legit-
computer
okay.
fan. Yeah, don't turn off your computer.
I'm sure the heat never bothered you anyway.
No, I have an external fan.
It's off.
Okay.
Oh, you poor people and your heat problems.
Yeah, it's
not
actually getting
heat,
warm
it's
here.
humidity.
Aw,
No, my
it's
husband
humidity
refuses
here,
to turn on the air. It's nice outside, but it's all like the electronics and everything. He refuses to turn on the air, so we have
Okay,
our fans
I'm
going.
gonna wave my hands again
Okay.
because we're actually starting for real this time. Okay, here we go. For real. 3, 2, 1. Wrong music.
I thought maybe that was on purpose.
This is not the Audacity podcast. It's the same button. Anyway, I'll explain that later. Here we go. For real. You're listening to Once, episode 151, Snowdrift, and There's No Place Like Home, highlights. Welcome back to another episode of Once, the unofficial podcast for ABC's TV show Once Upon a Time. I'm Daniel J. Lewis.
I'm Jeremy Laughlin.
I'm Erin.
I'm Hunter.
And I'm Jacqueline.
We've got the whole gang here to join us as we discuss this finale. And don't worry, we're going to try not to make this a 5-hour long episode of the podcast.
We will succeed.
Even though we could.
I hope we do.
And the way that we're going to do that is going to be a bit different from the way that we normally discuss episodes, because we have not only 2 episodes to discuss, but also the finale of season 3. So there would be a lot to talk about if we tried to break it down scene by scene. But then again, there's not much to talk about if we break it down scene by scene. It's kind of both things. It's kind of like the past and the present. You change one, you affect the other. We're going to do something a bit different, and that is that each of us have our 5 things that we're going to talk about. There will be some overlap, but we're going to work through these things. So these are each of the most important things that stand out to us. As we have the hiatus coming up, we'll have the opportunity to explore some of these other things and other stuff as well in much more detail, and your feedback will be welcome too. But you'll be able to comment on these topics that we share with you by going to the show notes at oncepodcast.com/151. So, for a season 3 finale, this was practically a movie, really.
Yeah.
Yes. It was practically a movie. Although on our rewatch we saw where the episode break was, which was interesting.
Did you guys not get that live?
No, live they showed all the credits at the beginning and just showed the whole thing right on through.
Oh, we had a second opening title in Canada.
Well,
We had one in Ohio.
We had an opening title.
Yeah, we had the opening title, and the one that we saw during the live broadcast was actually different than what downloaded through iTunes.
Interesting.
The one on iTunes is the exact same one for both episodes, but in the live broadcast, at least here in the US, what we got to see was a quick title screen.
Right.
And it was where the letters came in very different from the way they've normally come in. Instead of like the side scroll, this was where the letters came from like behind the camera. And it was really cool how they did that, and I was hoping to see it again, but it's not in the download version that we bought from iTunes. Maybe it will be on the DVDs or Blu-rays, but maybe not. But it was really cool. And as the chat room is calling this, Once Back to the Future edition.
Yeah, it was so many things. That's probably the closest.
Jeremy, how about you start us out?
With one of my top 5?
Yes. And it doesn't necessarily have to. Yeah, you're one of your 5.
One of them. Yep. Let's talk about Rumbell, if I may use the ship name, and the wedding. I'm sure that's not only on my list.
True.
Nope, it's on mine.
It was a beautiful wedding.
It was. Although, why did they not invite anybody?
Yeah.
Right? at least his grandson, since his son can't be there. Yeah. There should have been some more people there.
Yeah, it was beautiful and creepy all at the same time. It was kind of nice from a continuity aspect to have her father appear again. I feel like they got the most, sort of the most biggest cast reunion they've ever had in these 2 episodes.
Oh, yeah, it's been great.
For sure.
But especially on the rewatch, there was something so creepy about him sort of marching his daughter, in a sense, out into the forest next to that stupid, creepy well where all the bad stuff happens to give her away to the Dark One, who's been lying through his teeth. I don't know. And yet it was beautiful. And she looked wonderful, and their vows were so touching. But I have such mixed feelings about it.
And see, I was going to say, I know that Rumpelstiltskin is like 300 years old, but Belle doesn't need to look like she is.
What?
I wasn't a fan of her outfit.
Oh, my.
Oh, I loved it. I thought it was perfect for her.
I liked it.
I didn't even notice her shoes.
They were the black and white ones. Oh, I saw them.
And we know there is no true magic, or most powerful magic after true love, except for where?
And it
One of
must
the
be
things
protected.
Exactly. One of the things I thought was really cool with the vows was while both Belle and Rumpel were speaking and giving their vows, they had this montage going on of other scenes happening, showing us some of the same things that they were talking about. Like when... sorry, I'm looking at the wrong notes.
Oh.
When Rumpel was talking about you brought light to my darkness, it was showing Regina and Robin brought light to her darkness and helped her change. When it was talking about not believing in love itself and building up a wall, it showed Hook and Emma had stopped believing in love because she had been hurt by it, and she had built up a wall. And when it was talking about... sorry, I can't find this spot in my notes. So sorry. This will be edited later.
So sorry.
Do we have sunglasses?
And when it was talking about I've spent my life finding you, it showed Charming and Snow
Right.
and Baby Neil.
Which was so perfect. I haven't spent my life losing you. I've spent my life finding you. Because that's pretty much... that's what their lives tend to feel like sometimes.
Yes.
But then when they start talking about their I saw the man behind the monster, that's when it shows Rumpel hiding his dagger.
No, you didn't, Belle.
Yeah. I like it up to a point. Everything she said about aren't we all flawed, all that stuff. But I love you for it. I would say in spite of it would be better. It's especially being him. There are all kinds of different analogies you could make, and it might be a little extreme, but maybe a woman who's, I don't know, involved with a pathological liar, which I guess is kind of what she is, or, you know, in a more relatable sense, maybe a man who's an alcoholic or in some way possibly abusive. You would never find it charming and sweet if he kept doing these things and she was like, oh, I'm going to marry you anyway. We're all flawed and I love you because of your flaws. No. I don't know. There's something so off about this still.
Well, it's off because we know, right? Like, she doesn't know that he's kind of reverted back to
Right?
that.
But
And
it
so
seemed
he
like...
has made such a, like, redemptive gesture by giving her the dagger that is fake, but she doesn't know that.
Right. I took it as though they were going to... as though they were trying to say, but it's okay. He'll always be doing something on the side, and she just loves that part of him too. She doesn't even love him in spite of it. She just loves that too. And if she ever finds out that he's hurt her again and manipulated her and lied to her, it's okay, because she loves the darkness too, which makes absolutely no sense.
But isn't that who she fell in love with? She fell in love with the dark one.
The monster underneath the darkness.
Do you think that monster will come back out? Because their relationship is now, well, not based on a lie, but some of this trust is based on a lie.
Yeah.
I'm saying their relationship as a whole isn't based on a lie.
Correct.
But so it makes me wonder if maybe in season 4 we're going to see him revert to the monster, or something will happen to really test their relationship when Belle discovers what he's been doing.
Well, I think this is the test. I don't know if he's going to revert, because a lot of people are making the argument that killing Zelina was like the final job. It was the final thing he had to do because of Neil. And now that Zelina is dead, Rumple might truly try to be on a good path, but he's just going to keep this secret from Belle. And of course, all secrets are eventually going to come out. So I think season 4 is going to be Belle learning what Rumple has done. And I say this as someone who has been a die-hard Rumble shipper from the episode Skin Deep. She better leave. She better walk away. She better walk away, and he better fight like heck to get her back. But she cannot just stand there and say, no, it's okay. I love the darkness anyway. No, he killed a person. He killed a person who had all their powers removed, who was weak and defenseless. And she even says in the beginning of Snowdrifts, I would have curbed his homicidal tendencies.
Mm-hmm.
So she's not going to approve of killing Zelina, and this isn't just a let's talk it out kind of moment. She better pack her bags and get out. And then he can fight for her.
Right, because
truly change.
Crimes like that against other people, or we could call them sins or whatever, have consequences. You know, a guy can't just commit adultery and go to his wife and say, hey, I did this terrible thing against you. I'm sorry. And everything be okay after that. There's got to be a healing process, a true repentance. There are consequences that come from stuff like that. It's not just like, oh, that's okay. It's nothing. No, it's something big. And I think it would be cool to see Rumple fight for Belle, because he hasn't really gone all out, pursued her romantically.
No, he hasn't.
There was the kind of thing with Lacey, but he wasn't really trying that hard. He didn't really know what he was doing.
That's true. He was even, we may have talked about it before, but he was kind of just standing in his shop doing something when Belle came to find him with the dagger in the first place. It was like, you weren't out. Why didn't you guys meet in the street, sort of running toward each other? He's just going about his business, and she comes and finds him. I don't know. He's weird.
One of the things I want to talk about is Maid Marian and her implications for this whole story. Because she was supposed to have died, and now that she's come to the present, we see how this looks like it could affect things. And a couple things about her is she didn't actually help Snow. She just knew where Snow was hiding. And Robin and Snow hadn't met until after the season 3 mid-season premiere, because that's when Robin and Snow met each other, and Robin said, our posters, our wanted posters, were side by side. And so there were some hints that they'd never met before. So they've never helped each other, but Marian knew where Snow was. So that was her crime. And her personality really seems that of sacrificing herself for the sake of others. So keep that in mind. And I'm thinking that what could happen in this is, yes, we're going to see some struggles here, and how Regina will react to that, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But I think one thing that could happen is the timeline might correct itself. Something bad will happen, and Marian may willingly sacrifice herself, recognizing, I'm not supposed to be here. I don't fit in this timeline. I need to sacrifice. And it wouldn't be just something like, I'm going to commit suicide because I love you, but it would be something where she has to sacrifice herself to save someone or protect someone, and she does it knowing that she doesn't belong in this space. But what do you think about Regina's reactions to this?
Yeah.
I didn't take it. Yeah, I didn't take it the way I did the first time. She didn't seem like she was making a major turn back to the dark side.
Yeah, I don't think she'll go evil because of this.
Because it wasn't, she didn't swear to destroy Emma. She said, you're just like your mother. So it stirred up all her old feelings. But she was just like, well, you better hope nothing else bad happened because of what you did.
Which just was the segue into the next scene. But like I at first, same as Jeremy, I was like, oh my gosh, if she goes back to being the evil queen again, that's so annoying. We need to be done with that. But it didn't. Like, she's just so hurt again in the exact same way.
Right.
So Emma kind of is just like Snow in that way.
Yeah, I think she's
Saving
hurt.
those
I don't.
innocents.
I think she's got too many people that like care about her, and she cares about them to go evil again. Like she's got Henry, she's just getting back in with Emma and the rest of the family, and like I don't think that she'll go evil again.
Yeah, she's changed so much that I think her response is going to be very different from this. Yes, of course she's going to be hurt, but I don't think it will be like another love triangle thing with David and Catherine and Snow, that kind of thing. But it will be, I think Marion will be probably understanding to recognize that, well, Robin, yeah, you thought I was dead, you moved on. She seems somewhat reasonable to protect a secret and sacrifice herself and be willing to die to protect someone that she doesn't really even know personally, but that she just believes should be the rightful ruler.
You also have to remember, Marion thinks it's only been a couple days. She didn't have to live through the curse. She didn't have to live through the past year of not knowing. She just showed up. So, like, everyone else has had, like, 30 years to deal with this.
Yeah, but wouldn't that make it more painful for her? Because she's going to see that Robin and Regina have started this relationship, but in her mind, she just saw Robin probably a few days ago before she was arrested by Regina. So, I mean, there's understanding, but how much can you really understand about 30 years of cursed, frozen in time, history, world traveling stuff?
That's
well,
true.
I'm pretty much saying that everyone else has had 30 years to deal with Marion being dead. She's only had a couple days to figure out everything that's going on, so she seems understanding right now. She just might be a little confused as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff about what exactly happened that we don't know, because Robin said that her death was his fault. She said, my family probably already thinks I'm dead. And we don't know what all those, what all the circumstances are. One thing that may end up in a roundabout way being something beneficial is that whether they ever would have known or not, originally it looks like Regina had her killed, which is not really a great thing for her relationship with Robin. So now that didn't happen.
Yeah.
So whatever else does happen, at least that's not, I mean, I guess not for lack of trying. She was going to have her killed, but at least that's not actually what ended up happening to her now.
But remember here, also, Regina never knew who it was that she had in her jail cell.
Well, yeah, I know.
So now maybe some of the weight of that is on Regina, that she realizes that, wow, I was the one who either killed or was going to kill Marion, depending on what Regina's memories are now at this point. Basically, she probably just assumes that the prisoners were all killed. She probably didn't supervise that.
Right.
Like she did with Snow's. So she probably assumes, I'm the one who ordered her death. I'm the one who caused this. And that's now bearing weight on her relationship with Robin. That's probably going to come out. And it might be an opportunity for her to continue to show how she has changed.
So Robin didn't know prior to this that Marion was killed because of Regina?
I think so.
Yeah, because it sounds like he would have had reason to believe she was dead already. But it sort of depends. Maybe he knew that Regina's guards took her at the same time. It's kind of hard to say.
Yeah, they don't televise their executions out there.
You'd think it
not
might
the
have come
Hunger
up in conversation as he was flirting with Regina and making jokes about her being the evil queen. You would think that wouldn't be quite so light and airy if he if he was thinking, yeah, I remember how evil you were. You dragged my wife away and probably killed her.
And remember,
want a drink?
Remember when they first met too, in present day or 1 year ago, Enchanted Forest, there wasn't this, you killed my wife, I'm going to kill you thing. It was just, oh, you're the evil queen. And that sort of relationship of what they understood each other to represent in the past, but not how they'd been affected by each other.
Right.
True.
What's funny is that I didn't realize who she was. I think you asked for final predictions the first time we watched until, like, at the last 10 minutes, you said, all right, who do you think she is? And Jenny said, I think it's Marion. And that sounded reasonable to me. The thing is, the actress, Christy Lang, played Marion before, and I was like, oh, well, sorry I didn't remember. And that was in the episode Lacey.
Well, when we saw in this episode, when we saw her, I thought, wow, that looks a lot like Marion. I wonder who that is. It must be someone important.
I'm glad I wasn't the only one who was like totally oblivious to Marion until the very end, because I was so focused on just like enjoying this story. I was not analyzing the episode, and then when they recognized each other, I was like, no, that can't be right. And I had not even thought of who it was, so I'm glad.
How about this, though, for an extremely complicated question and potential situation? What if Regina is pregnant?
That's awkward.
No. That would veer so far into soap opera territory.
I agree.
It would. The idea that... Because I think what we're looking at for season 4 is Robin having to make a choice. And if you give him the mother of his child, and he's choosing between that and the woman that he's now falling in love with, who is now carrying his child. I mean, that's straight up 3 p.m. ABC soap opera.
I agree.
So let's stay away from pregnancy.
Yeah,
Plus,
there's been lots of pregnancy this season.
That's true.
But when I started thinking about that, because they did have that little moment at the fire in Regina's office. It wasn't quite a city council meeting, maybe. Maybe they did have a city council meeting. But what if that? And then think of it from a different perspective, though. If she is pregnant, not just how it would affect the thing with Robin and Marion, but how would it affect her and her character to have her own child? That could be kind of cool to see her have her own child.
She already has her own child.
Well, I mean, give birth to her own. Yeah, I know. Mix up there, sorry. But I do mean give birth to her own child, because love is a choice, but there is something just a little bit different about giving birth to your own child.
Well,
But still, you choose to love your children, whether adopted or birthed, at the same level, really. So it's the same kind of love, but there's just a slight different origin, I guess, of that love.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it'd be a very interesting... I mean, the show should have a limited number of seasons. I don't think it'd be that interesting of a story, honestly, personally.
Right.
Because we've explored her motherhood up one side and down the other at this point, so... She's a mother! Okay, we get it! That's awesome! By the way, I just want to throw this in there. Speaking of mothers and the fact that they always end the season on Mother's Day, one reviewer pointed out that they burned a mother at the stake on Mother's Day. It was a little traumatic. Now she survived,
in front of
but
her daughter,
in front of her daughter,
By her stepmother.
And happy Mother's Day, everybody.
Oh, that scene was so good.
I know.
Oh, yeah, it was.
Yeah, there's a lot there, but I liked that Regina actually told Robin about having seen him in the tattoo and Tink's prediction and all that stuff. So he understands sort of the weight of the moment. I think he's in a sort of impossible situation. With a little added impossibility by fairy tale-ness.
I'm trying to remember, though, when Tink brought up the whole thing and Regina saw it, was that before Marion was killed?
Yes.
Okay.
Why would it
Yes,
be before?
it was before, because when Tink took Regina out there, that was when Tink was just freshly married to King Leopold.
Who was?
I mean, Regina. Yeah. When Regina.
Awkward.
Oh, there's a ship I don't think anyone's ever thought of.
Tinkapold. Or Link. But so yeah, that happened before Marion, and we saw Marion pregnant with Roland in the episode Lacey, which in Lacey, Regina was fully evil queen at that moment, and
So
on the
So Robin was always supposed to end up with Regina. So even though Marion did come into the picture and then died / now lived, he's always supposed to end up with Regina. So I think no matter what happens in the end, Robin and Regina will end up together.
yeah, like he even said, it's a matter of timing.
Mm-hmm.
So what's it
Yeah, well-
what's it going to take to get there?
Well,
So it's a
I
good thing
kind of
she didn't
agree
go
with
into that
something.
tavern.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
because
mean,
otherwise a lot of things could not have happened that have happened now.
Jacqueline, what were you going to say?
I agree with something that Daniel said when we first brought up this topic, which is that somehow the timeline is going to correct itself. And this is sort of a big idea that I think they got from Lost. And there's no spoiler here for Lost, but there is this concept in Lost about course correction and how the universe constantly corrects the course if somebody messes it up. So if you're supposed to die and you somehow prevent it, you're still going to die. There is no change in your destiny. So I think that over the course of season 4, we're probably going to see Marion come very close to death on numerous occasions until the universe finally takes its pound of flesh. And
Yeah.
but I
That
still
same
think it's an
prince-
impossible situation for Robin. I don't know how he lives with the fact that his wife has to die to satisfy the universe and then goes back to Regina. I don't know.
Which, when we say it that way, is so preposterous.
But it could happen.
It could. I didn't say it couldn't. It's just preposterous.
Well,
Aaron-
that happens in a lot of shows, though.
It's true.
It's not just something we think should happen here. Every show, every sci-fi show, I guess you could say, that I see, that's usually what happens. Is if someone's supposed to die and they don't, then somehow they
Yeah.
do.
Yeah. I was going to say that happened on Charmed a bunch of times.
That's exactly what I
And-
was thinking.
Oh my gosh.
And since that's been a topic of conversation lately, I just wanted to mention it.
Aaron, what's something that really stood out to you with the finale?
I really liked watching Hook and Emma's journey in this episode, specifically the ball that they attended. I loved how mesmerized Emma was by the ball, even though she was like, in one sentence, she was being like, what's the big deal? It's just like a ball. And then she like stops dead in her tracks. And she's like, oh, pretty dancing. Let's do it. So I really liked that part. I loved her. I thought she was going to go with Princess Diana.
I know.
That's what I thought.
That would have been
too.
so
She went
bad.
with Prince Charles. It would have been bad, but that's kind of the name you associate with
Right.
it. So I like that she went with Leia, but I love that whole. That was kind of like throughout both episodes, but the ball was definitely my highlight. And then I just love her line when Hook's about to rescue her and she rescues herself and she says, "Sorry, the only one who saves me is me."
It was neat to see her
I loved her
shift through so
dress.
many personalities kind of with this. Like, she was the princess, and she was the peasant, and she was Emma, and she was all of this, even getting her magic back, too.
And she was Marty McFly.
Yeah.
She had the best outfits, though, because every personality had a different outfit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But she still got to have her nice, strong red color, which means basically, I'm going to kick butt.
Is that what it means?
That's often
Shade
been
color.
how they've used it, yeah.
Regina was wearing red in this episode also.
Yeah, a lot of black, too.
Black is her color.
And if you notice at the ball, Emma's dress, the red dress, she's the only one in that color. Everyone else is in dull,
Yeah.
muted colors. So you can really pick them out, like in the dancing scenes, if it's from high above or something.
Yeah, good job being subtle, Rumple.
Yeah.
He was the fairy godmother again.
Well,
Doesn't he have a line about subtlety? Not your style, I know.
True. He was a little extra motivated this time, I would think.
at least he didn't make her as regal as a potato. Or a sack of potatoes, whatever it was that he did in the episode The Evil Queen.
Oh,
Hunter, what's something that stood out to you?
I really loved Emma getting her magic back because it brought everything together. It made she believed in herself. It just stood for so much more than just them getting home.
Did you notice the wand that she was using?
That was
Yeah.
the black fairies or the dark fairies one.
Yeah.
But
Black
that's
Fairy's wand.
white.
Well, that was glowing with
Right.
Emma's magic.
oh, is that
Red
the
magic.
point? And we've established that this is different than the one he took from Cinderella's fairy godmother?
Yeah.
Okay.
That one that he took from Cinderella's fairy godmother, we need a name for her. But Gozelda, we'll call her.
No, we won't.
Isn't she just fairy godmother?
Yeah.
Could just
Yeah,
call her
probably.
like Sue.
Bibbidi bobbidi boo.
Actually, you know,
Boo.
she is the
Just
only
call her
one.
Boo.
Yeah. She is the only one that's been someone's fairy godmother.
But it's been
that we've seen.
established that there can be more than one fairy
Yeah.
godmother, and since she was Cinderella's and she's never been given a name, I like to label Cinderella's fairy godmother.
But her wand is what we've seen the most. It's blue and has some gems on it. And this one was black and has this little decoration near the handle,
Yes.
which looks like it came from a craft store, the decoration that's around it, a little bit like some decorative craft wiring. And that's the exact same one that Blue Fairy had that they had to use in near the end of the first half of season 3.
So when he said the whole thing about, I forget what he said, but he didn't want to talk about how he got it, or he just kind of glossed over it. I thought, thinking of Cinderella's fairy godmother,
Yeah.
that he didn't want to talk about, oh yeah, I blew her up and took the wand. So if this is, assuming this is a different wand, that's still a future story they've hinted at multiple times, potentially. How he came to possess it. She turned it light. It seemed like she used light magic with it.
Well, she has light magic. She doesn't have evil magic.
Hunter, what do you think this will look like in season 4? Now that Emma has her magic back and she's already been using it more, what do you expect?
I expect her powers to grow a lot more than just doing protection spells. I expect to see a lot more being used since she now has it back. And maybe she goes to, like, Rumple for lessons like he taught Regina and everyone.
I wonder how protected Emma's heart is and what it is protected against going into season 4.
Good question.
She might
I
have
don't know why I
removed.
would be asking that, but
I don't know either. Hashtag frozen.
Oh gosh.
hashtag frozen heart.
I didn't think about any of that.
We'll just let that one go for now.
Yeah.
Yeah, this whole episode really full. I mean, we've been joking about Frozen references, but now we have them. But we'll talk about that in a moment. But also, like Back to the Future references, so much in this episode. Not just the direct references to Marty McFly and Back to the Future and that stuff, but the way that this episode worked. Kitsis and Horowitz had said that if they could have written a script for any other movie, Back to the Future would have been one they would have loved to write for. And here they did so much of the same stuff. Like the offspring prevents their parents from meeting. That's what happened in Back to the Future 1. Spoiler, by the way. But Marty McFly prevents his father, George, from meeting Lorraine.
Right.
It happens differently then
No
Lorraine
kidding.
thinks she's falling in love with Marty
Calvin
McFly.
Klein.
Yeah.
No, it's Calvin
Oh,
Klein.
yeah, that's right. I forgot the underwear.
Good grief.
But in here, it's the same thing. And a tree is involved. Someone falls out of the tree. Same thing as what happened in Back to the Future.
There's an apple joke to be made somewhere because Snow White and apples and falling out of trees, but I'm not sure what the joke is.
Jacqueline, what's something that stood out to you?
Well, probably my favorite scene in all of the 2 hours was the Neil and Emma carousel scene. I became an emotional wreck, and my mom just looked at me and goes, "Are you okay?" I'm like, no, I'm not. That scene, I think I have watched it now like 10 or 15 times because it kind of just destroys my insides.
And you like that?
I do. It's why I watched Once Upon a Time, right? To be emotionally devastated. But I really liked that Emma's definition of home, of what home means to Emma, has always come from Neil.
Yeah,
And
I liked that too.
that just hit me like a bunch of rocks, and it's what's going to carry me through the rest of this series. Is that her definition of home has always come from Neil. And she even says that in the vault at the end. Neil was right. And then she gets her magic back. Score 1 for my team. So, yeah, that was my very favorite scene. And I don't think we're ever going to see Neil again. But if that's the way it ended, I'm glad that was his final scene.
Yeah, it was a good ending scene for him. I mean, not ending scene, but last time to see him, maybe see him ever in the series.
Yeah.
Since they're not going to need him now that he's dead. That sounds so mean.
It's so sad. His character seems to get killed off on so many shows.
Well, I was responding to someone's once podcast feedback email, and I mentioned something about Neil. Emma thought Neil was dead 3 times, basically.
Yeah.
3?
Well, yeah, once when he went through the portal,
Yes.
once when they thought he was a monkey,
Yes.
and then now when he actually is dead.
Yes.
So
Maybe.
it's more like she lost him 3 times. No, actually, she lost him 4 times.
4 times.
Because there's also way back in Tallahassee.
So this feels really mean, and I don't have another way to ask it. Did she spend her life finding him or losing him?
I don't think she looked for him.
She did. She went to Tallahassee for 2 years.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
We learned that back in season 1, episode 4.
But was she looking for him, or was she just making herself available to be found by him?
That's too weak woman of her. And that is not Emma Swan.
But she was in love. Women in love do things out of character.
And she knows how to find people, so if she really wanted to find him, she would have found him.
And he's
Well,
really good at
except
hiding.
Yeah.
He hid from Rumple for how long?
I don't think she wanted to find him because he broke her heart.
I think she did.
Someone else that Emma could have tried to find? Graham. She was in the past. Graham was alive at
I
that
was
point.
so hoping.
Why
he'd
would
be
she
in this
do that?
episode.
But Graham was, at that point, he was just the huntsman. He wasn't even working for Regina yet. Right?
Yes,
Wait.
he was.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right. He
would
was.
have been.
Here's what I would like
But-
to ask the fan base, since you bring this up. Does Graham at this point carry the same weight that he once did? He was
Yes.
in the show for 7 episodes. He wasn't really, per se, her true love. She's lost a much truer love. Really? Does it?
He was hot and he had a really awesome accent. So yes.
I actually heard that they were trying to get him back for the show, but he is filming 50 Shades of Grey in BC, and they could not get him back because of his demanding filming schedule for 50
Oh,
Shades
that's too
of Grey.
bad.
So perhaps that was an idea, but since this was like the biggest reunion show of
Yeah.
time.
Right.
kind of.
Yeah, for the last 3 episodes, they've shown us almost every character we've seen in more than one episode.
Yeah.
Like, we
Not
even got to see all
Ashley.
7 dwarves. Yeah, true, not Ashley.
And I didn't see Philip, even though I saw Aurora.
Yeah, he wasn't there.
Yeah,
And I
7
was happy.
dwarves, which
But what if
means
there were only
nobody.
6?
Right,
He wasn't
right.
there.
Nobody drunk rode a horse and hit one of the dwarves in the past. So.
Actually, yeah, you're right. Happy wasn't there. That was the
Happy
one I
wasn't
missed.
there.
Oh, maybe he
weird.
did get hit by a horse.
Or was the flying monkey at some point and may have been evaporated.
That nobody would notice yet.
Oh, he
Along
was
with
one
Philip.
of the last dwarves that was left, though, when they were missing them all.
Yeah.
Huh. I didn't notice any of the dwarves except for Grumpy. Sorry, guys.
Some of the things that I thought about with this episode are the continuity issues with this. There are certain things where I can see that, yes, they nicely respected the continuity. Like, at first, I thought that, well, Snow wasn't supposed to know about Daniel's death at this point, and here she is saying that to Regina. But I realized when rewatching it, Snow said, I didn't know by telling your mother about Daniel that she would stop the wedding. There was
Oh.
nothing about killing Daniel. So now having that in mind, everything just makes a whole lot of sense now that, yeah, well, duh, Snow would have known that, oh no, I told, and Cora must have stopped the wedding. And that's how Snow has been thinking all along, that she ruined Regina's life is by stopping the wedding. It was only in the episode An Apple Red as Blood, which chronologically happens a couple years after this, if not more, that Snow learns that Cora killed Daniel.
Did she know that Cora stopped the wedding?
Well, think about this.
Or did
The wedding
Regina
didn't
say
happen,
that he
so-
left? Or that she changed her mind? Or.
Well, in An Apple Red as Blood, Snow had said something about, I thought you told me he left, or something like that.
Oh.
And it's kind of, looking back, hindsight, you can see that, oh, I told, and Cora must have stopped the wedding, even though they were going to get married. Cora must have stopped it in some way. But so that was nicely respecting the continuity of the show. But one of the big problems that I had with this is, should Hook have even been in Enchanted Forest at this time in the past? Because remember, he went to Neverland until he could figure out a way to kill the Dark One. And then he somehow got back to Enchanted Forest. We don't know exactly when or exactly how. We've assumed that he made some kind of deal with Peter Pan. And that's how
Right.
he was able to get back to do something for Pan. But then why is he hanging out in bars, in taverns, instead of going and trying to kill Rumple at this point?
Well, that's what Hook does.
Well, not. I agree with Daniel, and I don't know if this is a continuity issue or if this is an out of character moment, which was happening a bit in this episode. But with Hook, he's supposed to be completely diehard focused on finding a way to kill Rumple, which is why he breaks into Belle's cell and demands information. So it doesn't actually make a lot of sense, because this is a man who for 300 years has been totally myopic when it comes to what he has to do. He must defend Mila. And for him to be in a bar, drinking, flirting with women, going back to the Jolly Roger for a hookup, it doesn't actually fit what we were told about Hook when it comes to what he wanted at that time. And this episode did a lot of dancing around the Mila issue. Every time they had a chance to bring Mila up, it got sideswept. And this was one of the bigger ones. And I agree with Daniel. It's not a continuity issue so much as out of character, but yeah, I agree. It was weird.
Which is funny considering how many other things they did bother to bring up, like Belle's father, who I practically forgot existed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the
Who's
fact that he
Maurice?
forgave Rumple for
Maurice.
tying him up with duct tape and rope and beating him almost to death.
That was, now that you mention it, was a little bit easily explained.
Yeah.
Oh, he forgave you. He forgave you because he knows you're a good man, even though I know you're really not, and I love you because of it.
Because if
Well,
nothing
Maurice-
in the past changes, then Hook is going to wake up after being punched by Hook. And he's going to... We have to accept that the rest of Hook's flashbacks happen. So he still goes out and tries to get information out of Belle. He still meets Regina. He still forms an alliance with Cora. So this feels like this incredibly out-of-character moment for him,
Yeah.
given what they set up so long ago for him.
Right, because he learned in Neverland about the dagger, and in the Queen of Hearts, when he went to get Belle to learn about the dagger, he seemed like he had just gotten back in some way, or he was in a hurry, kind of like, I have this information, I need to go get this and take action on it. So now we're supposed to believe there's some kind of gap in there, that he came back, played around a little bit, and then decided, yeah, I think I'll go find that dagger now. So I'm going to say that's a continuity error, not just some extra writing in there, but that's an error.
Interesting.
But-
Well, I also have continuity sort of / time travel issues. So some of it might be with the past of the show, but I was focused a little bit more on just the issues of time travel and things like that. I basically, one thing I had to conclude is that Emma, and she is, I think, as Rumpel pointed out, an amateur, so it's okay, but she's really bad at time travel. Like, I can tell you don't watch a lot of sci-fi, even though she was kind of the expert on Back to the Future. But she told Rumpel everything. She even let the little line about Belle slip. I was just
That
like,
was
how are you not destroying everything at this point? It was funny, but she didn't know that a forgetting potion was even a possibility. So here she is, way contaminating the timeline and Rumpel's knowledge set, potentially. Maybe there's a little less danger since he knew a lot of things about the future, but I don't know if she knew that. So
I think she did know that. That's what I was just going to say, just because she, like in the episode Queen of Hearts, which we've already talked about, she knew that Rumpel knew how she was, like, that she needed the squid ink to get out of the cage, right? Like she
we don't talk
knows
about
that-
Squid Ink.
I'm sorry, but it's relevant. She knew that Rumpel knew, like, she's always thought that Rumpel, like, played her and orchestrated this whole thing,
True.
right? Like, she said that in Queen of Hearts. She said that in Manhattan. She totally knows that he knows the future and must, I don't know, I think it can also be assumed, even if she doesn't know it, just because of his actions and his knowledge.
True. I thought it was also funny, though, that it seemed like despite the fact that time travel apparently has never been done before, the two characters who haven't had access to a lot of sci-fi seem to know a lot about how it should work. Hook and Rumpel both kept saying, no, you can't do this because it works like this, and we've got to do this and that, do that. But I was impressed with a few things that they worked in, like how Rumpel returned the stolen clothes to make sure that didn't somehow set off a chain reaction. But then at the same time, he let them literally waltz into that ball. So, yeah, I know.
But they were close. I mean, if you think about it, you don't need to have a lot of knowledge to know what happens if you go back in time and change one little thing. It could lead to a whole bunch of stuff. And I think that just knowing that general knowledge is what kept them going.
No, I agree. I just wonder, would people who hadn't been exposed to sci-fi stories really think in that much detail about what effect it could have? Maybe they would. I don't know, because I've grown up with sci-fi, so I can't think without it.
Well, you bring up a good point with Rumpel trying to make sure that, the timeline didn't explode, like returning the clothes, but yet he lets them go through a time portal back to the future with a woman who should never have left.
Right.
I mean, he even makes a joke about it. He's like, oh, look at that, you got yourself some luggage. I'm like, no, Rumble, you need to stop them. You're making all these, you're focusing on all these tiny details, like putting a glamour spell on them at the ball and returning clothes. They're literally taking another human being to the future. Maybe we stop this.
Although he didn't think they could do it, did he?
Well, but when he went down there to the vault, Hook had already gone through, and then instead of, trying to prevent even Emma from going, he decides to drink the memory potion and let her go. Also, by the way, one of the biggest out-of-character moments I have ever seen on this show. So, yeah, I don't know. He focused too much on the tiny, pesky little details and didn't focus on the really huge timeline-altering change.
Well, that was a moment where I thought, when we started smacking his lips, I thought he was going to, allude to the fact that the potion was nothing and he fooled Emma, and then everything was going to be different when they got back because of his prior knowledge. But he wants very much to protect the way he sees things unfolding, and he now had confirmation that his plans were successful, and he already knew enough to know that any prior knowledge on his part could ruin everything. So I didn't see it as being too much out of character. And if the other woman had gone through, there's not much point in preventing Emma from going home. In fact, keeping her there might actually do more damage to the timeline. B, if that woman was supposed to die and she is removed from the Enchanted Forest, it doesn't really interrupt anything between that moment and the moment they went to the past. So all of his stuff, all the stuff he really cares about, would still happen. He was still going to find his son and all of that.
And his son dies. I mean, Emma tells him that, and then this is why I'm calling it this huge out-of-character moment. This is past Rumpelstiltskin. This isn't Rumple, who has come a really long way, who sacrificed his life to prevent Peter Pan from hurting those he loved. This is Dark One Rumple. Rumple, who is going to rip apart worlds to try and find Balefire.
Kill his grandson.
Yes. And when he drank that memory potion, I just went, he would not do this. He would have let Emma go and said, I'll just find a way to prevent Neil from ever dying. And I don't know, it seemed to be this giant, plot that, well, we need to keep Neil dead because we know Michael Raymond James is no longer on the show, so we're going to make it so that Rumple actually accepts Neil dying. And, oh, by the way, Emma loved him, wanted to save him, but make sure he dies a hero. By the way, I'm going to take this other woman back to the future. No, there was a lot of just plot happening without a lot of logic in that moment.
Well, I think he was resorting to some logic there because he could at least think, well, if I know this now, I may mess up and not get to my son. But I do know that if I continue in the direction I was continuing without extra influence, I will find my son. Maybe I can do something that he doesn't die, even though I won't remember it then. In some way, I think it's a smart decision, which Zelina respected him and wanted his brains. So he's not a dumb guy.
His brains. She sounded a lot like a zombie.
Dumb guy, but he's wholly and completely influenced by the love for his son.
Yeah.
And that he just so kind of blindly accepts this future, oh, you're going to find him, but he's going to die, just, to me, isn't Rumpelstiltskin. Because he could have accepted that Balefire was lost to him forever when he let go of his hand over the portal, and instead it was, I will find a way to be reunited and to have my happy ending with my son, because that's what Bay is to him. And so, no. People have been arguing this with me all week, so I don't agree.
Yeah, I'm not changing my mind. Well, a few other little points I had on the continuity and time travel stuff. Should we assume that there's an element of fate to this? Things like even Charming Scar happening one way or another. It's like, yeah, you can set them on the right course. Maybe they're meant to be together, but it's every last little detail have to happen. They have the same conversations, and she hits him the same way and still says woman and all of this stuff. I mean, yeah, thank you for not taking it out of history entirely, since we like those moments. But they did change,
Well, he
which
does
I'm not
have a scar
happy about.
right there on his face, so they had to explain it some way. You can't just get rid of
Yeah.
a scar that's permanently on your face.
Well, is it a real scar?
No, it's not. The actor doesn't really have a scar there.
Yeah, so they could just
Oh, I
stop
thought I saw
applying
it in
it.
pictures. Okay,
Oh.
never mind.
And even that, I mean, they could cover it up. But you're right. If it was too hard, then sure, keep it written in. I don't know.
What's that?
I liked it too. And if they want to say fate, then fine. I just found it interesting that they tried to change a bunch of things, but they didn't really want to mess with the timeline that much after all.
Because those were the things that made them fall in love, right?
I suppose so.
The mannerisms.
Those are the
and
iconic moments
cute-
from.
Yeah.
I know. So they should have changed a different story.
I even like though, like the title, like Snow Falls was
And Snow
where they
Drifts.
went, and Snow Drifts. Like I loved that. That's so
Mm-hmm.
clever.
Okay, well, I'm just being crotchety then.
Yes, you are.
So, but then there's Snow trying to kill Regina with the dark fairy dust. Like, it was one thing, yes, she possessed it and she intended it, well, which even that, I think it's fine personally. But some of the stuff that they've established since then, some of the overly sort of, dare I say, at the risk of making terrible puns with the show, bleeding heart sort of things, where they're like, no, you can't kill, even to defend your family. No, you can't kill. Heroes don't kill. And then she gets a dark spot on her heart. Now, she shouldn't have used dark magic. That's true. But they've made it as though Snow can't ever kill anybody. She should never even try. But here she tried to kill Regina. And we know, now that I'm talking about it, I remember that was always her intent. Apparently, it wasn't such a big deal. Anyway, that's a little continuity thing.
Well, the trolls still ended up being turned into bugs, and
I
one of them
loved
squashed.
that because if you were looking for these loose ends, you might think, wait, now there are trolls alive. What if they kill such and such person, or they do this, or they end up with a troll army and trolls take over the enchanted forest? But no, they got turned into bugs, and one even got squashed, just like it was supposed to happen. So I guess fate. Again, though, because nobody set that. Nobody course corrected that, but it still happened. So and maybe that points to some of the universe course correction stuff that we were talking about earlier. It also helps with the idea, think how different things could have been if even for a few weeks Regina believed Snow was dead. So the trolls somehow knew that Snow was supposed to be dead, so when they saw her, they were able to go tell Regina, no, Snow's actually alive.
The wanted poster. Remember? The way it happened is that David had the wanted poster in his bag.
Yes.
And that fell out during the troll bridge, and it happened here too. And that's how they recognized, oh, you're Snow White. The queen wants you. We're going to turn you into the queen. And so then they want a reward for maybe giving information about Snow's whereabouts.
Well, but they said this time around, tell the queen Snow still lives.
Yeah.
So what did she do? Send a messenger to tell the trolls, hey, Snow's dead.
Oh. Yeah, that's true.
So I thought that was weird. But at least it accounts for Regina continuing on her vendetta instead of thinking that she won.
Right.
As far as everything else that could have changed and didn't, how did you guys feel about the explanation at the end of the episode? About, Rumpel said everything except our little adventure would go back to normal.
Well, except
And-
everybody's memories, right?
Yeah, but then at the same
everybody's
time, he started talking about, I would have remembered that wench I kissed, and he acted like he didn't.
Well,
Well, that
he
was the
said he
rum.
blamed it on the rum. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Well,
he's just
he was
saying, no,
very
it
drunk,
worked.
But Snow and Charming, they remember meeting Princess Leia.
Yeah. Now
Yep.
they do, at least. So, and even Rumpel said those stories happened differently, but everything else went back to the way it was.
Yeah, I would have been happier with, maybe a few episodes ago, not even a few episodes ago, I probably wouldn't have been happy. I was going to say if it was a thing like they, the same things that happened are what always happened. Like they always knew this Prince Charles and Princess Leia, and then it's like, you guys, it turns out you guys are them. That might have been cool, but if they had just started bringing that plot line up in the last few episodes, I probably would have disliked that too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hey
Well,
guys, by the way, I was just searching and I found a picture of Josh Dallas, not as Prince Charming, and he does have the scar.
Oh.
Ah.
So,
And it's not anything from Once Upon a Time.
it's not a Once Upon a Time website, it's nothing. It was posted 2 years ago. But it's him. I can tell it's him. It's like his face, and he's all scruffy. And
So
he's got a scar right on his face.
do they cover it up in the scenes before she hits him in snow falls and snow drifts?
Probably.
Well, they do. The
I mean,
same
it doesn't
thing with
look like
Lana
it's one of
Parrilla's
those-
Scar.
It doesn't look like it's one of those deep scars, so like it probably just a little makeup and you're fine.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting.
I can't find a story on how we see the scar.
It was probably pretty much like that.
No, I found articles on other scars on stars, like one person got hit in the face with a seatbelt and stuff, but there's nothing
Oh gosh.
nothing on
Yeah,
him.
sometimes they're public. Like I know Lana Parilla's is public. Like
Oh.
how she got the big scar on her lip.
I didn't
'Cause,
know.
like a dog attacked her when she was holding
Oh.
her kitten or something.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, you know what is to us like wonderful, cute little kittens in our lives that we just want to hug and who give us great joy in our lives?
Worst segue.
And don't-
ever.
Yeah.
Hashtag worst segue
That was a
ever.
good. That was a good segue. Glad I could set that up for you, Daniel.
Let me still make it a segue. It's our supporters. Thank you so much for donating to this episode of Once Podcast. Steve Johnson, David Newland, and Marianne Lavati, who is a new subscriber, for supporting the podcast on a regular basis. Thank you so much for donating to this episode of Once Podcast. We really appreciate the support, especially as we come into the summer months where we won't be producing as many episodes. The ongoing and one-time donations really matter a lot then. But also we're up to $16.50 per episode on Patreon. So big thanks to Steve, David, Marianne, and all of our Patreon backers for your support. If you would like to donate to an episode, either one time or automatically, monthly, or each episode that we release, donation of any amounts for these options, please go to oncepodcast.com/sponsor, and you can be a contributor to the show to help keep it running. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Aaron, let's go with you next.
Another highlight that I had from this episode was Emma finding her home. So
Me
that was-
too.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I think you guys said this, or no, somebody sent in feedback to this extent as well. But the whole show has kind of been about Emma's journey, and since this mid-season premiere, Emma's journey has really been on hold. So she's had some clearly defining, emotional moments, like last year in the finale when she called them mom and dad for the first time, and in Lost Girl when she kind of opened up to Snow for the first time, about her past. But since then, there hasn't really been a lot. So it was kind of nice to see that come full circle and to have the show kind of be about the savior again, even though there was tons of other stuff in this episode. But a huge part of the whole finale was Emma finding her home and realizing that she had already really found it, and realizing that she was going to miss it. So I just loved that. I didn't so much see the value in the group home flashback.
It was for the hidden Mickey. Come on.
I know, hidden Mickey. But the actress that they hired, she was really good. Not anything against the actress, but she was almost to me the same age that Emma would have been in Tallahassee. She looked like 16, and Emma's supposed to be 17 in Tallahassee. So, A, they could have just used Jennifer Morrison, or they could have just like used one of the other little kids. Like, could have been anybody, right?
Well, I think it would have looked
'Cause
absolutely ridiculous to have Jennifer Morrison standing there waiting to be adopted with all those kids.
Well, she's
Well, then
supposed
they could have just made her a little younger.
18 years ago, she's supposed to then be 11, 12, 13, somewhere around there. And I think that's how old that girl that they got. Look,
Okay, I would have said 14 or 15. So,
Well, she was
I
like
was
3
gonna say
feet taller
16.
than all the other kids.
well, Emma's tall, right?
Anyway, also, she didn't have glasses. There was some, yeah. Anyway.
Well,
there
the
was-
glasses were kind of a Portland of the 90s thing.
What were they? 'Cause,
Except,
anytime,
God.
anytime Jennifer Morrison is asked about them, she says that Emma wears contacts.
Oh, well, okay.
Well, if you notice her outfits, like when they do the flashbacks like that, they're all like the grunge style, which
Plaid.
is yeah, I wore that in high school. So
Oops, not 90s.
no, it was the 90s.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh.
It was
Grunge,
like the
90s.
mid 90s. It started when I started in high school. But if you remember the TV show, My So-Called Life, when that came out, that whole area. But it was all the glasses. I had dark frames like that too.
Nice.
So
by the way, it's this discussion about Emma's finding her home that it was Katie emailed us saying that she thought that this is what made this episode really tie in well with the rest of the season and the rest of the series. And Katie mentions some specifics, but let me just remind you of some of the things. Like, remember in the beginning of season 3, when they were in Neverland, how much Emma was talking about how she was an orphan. And in season 2, some of that came out. In season 1, some of that came out. And so the whole thing of showing the foster home there, basically, is to remind us that this girl has been looking for a home ever since she was born. And now she's finally found it.
Yeah. I also loved that she acknowledged what she's been doing to Snow, like how she's been treating Snow for the last 2 years or 2 seasons. Because it's always kind of been like heartbreaking to watch her not want to connect and not want to love and not want to get close to her mom, knowing what she knows. So it's nice, like she basically said like that when she hugged Snow, it was like she didn't even, Snow like looked back and didn't even know her, and she says, and that's what I've been doing to her since I met her. So I appreciated that, just because she has been kind of harsh to Snow in that sense, and she's acknowledging, that was wrong, but that it did happen, and that she's going to change that now. So I liked that.
I knew that look from Snow was going to do something. I liked that Emma also got her magic back when she admitted that Storybrooke and being with her family are her home.
Well, no need for magic in New York, as she pointed out.
Hunter, what's one of your other highlights?
I loved the scene Hook versus Hook, between seeing the really drunk Hook and then the more mature Hook, and then him getting to punch his old self. I thought it was hilarious. I was laughing so hard during all that.
That was great, and it reminded me that, yeah, there was a point where he changed vests, and I don't quite remember when
Right.
that was, but kind of cool that they brought that out, because at first it's like, why do they have to have Smee say that? But then to realize too, well, why did they have to have him wear different vests? So Smee could say that, and so it could...
Well, there was probably some other point. If we look back, we'd probably find a point where, because of the flashbacks they were doing, it would have been confusing a little bit more
Right.
if he hadn't had some kind of visual difference.
The red vest is always the past.
Right.
And the past is in the past.
The past isn't.
It was just great to see how much he's changed too. Even though, yes, I know technically it's been a long time, but he seemed to like grow up. He's no longer the drunk pirate that everyone thinks of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's more considerate. He's more thoughtful.
He was afraid of sending Emma off with his
Yeah.
past self.
Which is nice, like except for that Emma can totally take care of herself. It's nice that he acknowledges that he was not a honorable man back then, and that
Right.
he would not want Emma to be victimized by not an honorable man.
Right. Well, it's nice to have a heads up because he's wearing the same face. So, like, hey, he's a little different than me. So,
But
watch
she
it.
knew him before he was the him he is now.
That's true, too.
too.
She was actually a little more the old him than he was in those scenes. If
What?
you understand.
Oh, yes, yeah, yeah. I
She
do.
was coming on stronger than he was.
because she was trying to get him drunk.
I know.
And she had to keep him away from the ship so present day Hook could talk to Snow.
It was just funny.
And confuse me.
And of course, get another rat reference. If we can't get a simian reference, which we
That
did
was
get
hilarious.
a monkey reference, but
You're not going to want to do that.
Jacqueline, what's one of your other highlights?
Well, I'm going to bring up a moment that I didn't like and that has been talked about quite a bit over in the forums this week, which is naming the baby Neil. In the initial reactions, you guys said that I really wanted this, and no.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misrepresented you then.
It's okay, but someone came over to the forums and was like, RG, Daniel just said you wanted the baby named Neil. I was like, no.
I was very upset with that. I was very upset with that.
Oh.
Like, I see red every single time I think about this.
Oh my gosh.
But
It was so logical.
It was.
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
For those of you that don't listen to the spoilers, we knew that the baby was going to be named something that was significant and that it was very emotional and not expected.
Not expected?
Oh, well,
That's what
That-
Jimmy Goodwin said.
Oh.
they
That was
downplay
very- yeah.
they downplay the intelligence of the viewers. I think in some sense they don't realize how smart all of you guys are in figuring out all of this stuff.
Smart/obsessive. She
Yeah.
probably underestimates how much time we might spend thinking about such things.
But
Can I just say I really wish it was Prince Charles and not Prince Neil?
Oh, Charles would have been great.
That would have been funny if they named him after.
That would have been. I would have. Oh, that would have been so weird.
Remember after that guy who saved us?
Exactly.
But Jacqueline, so since I'm sorry for misrepresenting you, but now tell us why. Yeah, you really don't like the way it came out.
I think it's horribly awkward for Emma and Henry and Rumpel that they have named this new baby after the man that fathered Henry. I mean, Emma and Neil's relationship is pretty clear in the fact that Henry is alive. So, I mean, to me, it's just so weird that they took her former lover, former love interest, ex, whatever you want to call him, and gave her baby brother that name. And I know that Adam and Eddie are Star Wars fans, and they fangirl over Luke and Leia and Han Solo. But for the love of everything, you know, Leia and Luke did not have a child together. So I also think it's incredibly disrespectful to Rumpel because it's clearly they did not talk to him about this beforehand. They just made the decision, oh, we're going to name this after your child. And now every single time that that child is in the room and gets called, he's going to be reminded of the fact that he lost his child and that Emma has lost an ex and someone that she loved very much, and that Henry has lost his father. And no. And even in an interview, Adam and Eddie said, oh, well, when they go back to Enchanted Forest, if they ever do, you know, he can be Balefire there. And I'm like, no. Stop trying to erase
That's
a
kind of
character
awkward.
from this show by giving us a substitute baby.
I think it was respectful, and I think even what Rumpel's reaction showed that he was in some way appreciative of it.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what I took from his little subtle reaction to it, and as well as Emma just recognizing of, wow, that's really honoring Neil's sacrifice.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think any of them are going to think, oh, this is a new Neil.
Right.
It's such an honor to have a baby named after you, right? Like that means that you've had such a fundamental impact on the parent's life. I think I thought it was endearing that they did that and honorable, and that they're really acknowledging the sacrifice that Neil made for that baby.
I do agree on the awkwardness of it because, yeah, Emma has said goodbye to Neil 4 times, and now her little brother is named Neil.
Yeah, I think people do that, though. They name babies after people that they want to remember and honor who have gone before.
Yeah, but it should have, and I know we're never going to see this, in the show because
Henry.
Once Upon a Time will end. Yeah, Once Upon a Time will end before we get to this point. But, that to me is Henry's firstborn son is named Neil. And so Snow and Charming knew Neil for a very short amount of time. And I understand that he made a big impact because, in their heads he died to save them from Zelena. But I don't know. I still think it's incredibly awkward. And it feels like Adam and Eddie doing this placating of the fans by saying, see, we love Neil, we want to honor him. And what they don't realize is that the majority of the fans are not happy with this name choice. And this goes not only for the Neil fans and Swanfire fans, but even a lot of the Captain Swan fans are like, this is incredibly upsetting for Emma, who now has to, be reminded of Neil all the time.
But then again, Emma was already to the point where she acknowledged that she loved him, but she didn't want to continue a life with him. That's what happened in the beginning of season 3.
Well, I don't even mean in a sort of shippy, she's going to be reminded of what they could have had sense, but in the sense that the person she did love, and she said, I will always love you, is dead. I don't know. To me, it doesn't sit well. I thought he should have been named Graham or Charming's father name, whatever that may be.
We're like the family here that's saying, why, you named your kid that? Why didn't you name him after me? Or why didn't you name him after
See,
these
I guess
other things?
I'm the opposite. If they'd named him Graham, I would have been like, how trite. They didn't know him at all. That's for the fans. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well,
I would have been upset about that. So
Graham-
I don't know.
Graham did save Snow's life, but
yeah, did they know his name? Do they remember
Neil
him?
Saved that baby Neil's life. Like Neil, that's why he's a hero, right? Like he sacrificed himself to identify Zelena so they could save Snow and Charming's baby.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that's why you name someone after. That's why you name a baby after someone, right? If somebody saved your life so that you could have your baby, that might be when you name your baby after that person.
Just
I
with
don't
the
know.
follow-up, I just was like, so you named him Neil. Like, just like I said, they said it's unexpected and all this stuff, and I'm like thinking Neil the whole time, but then they said it. I'm like, well, that was expected. That's not an unexpected name.
Yeah. Could have been Bob.
Or Lancelot.
Well, watching the episode is when I came up with the Prince Charles. I'm like, oh, that's got to be his name. And then
That's funny.
it wasn't. And I'm like, well, Neil was expected. What are they trying to do to us?
It would have been funny if they had planned on naming him Neil, and because of what happened and what changed, they ended up naming him Prince. Never would have known that.
At
Like
least it wasn't
if they went into Granny's, and if there had been a conversation before Emma went back in time where Snow and Charming were like, yeah, we're gonna name him Neil, and then when they announce it, they're like Prince Charles, and then Emma's like, oops, that's something we changed.
That actually would have been funny. At least it wasn't like Hans or Christoph.
Or Leopold.
Or Leopold. Henry again.
Hunter, what was something else that stood out to you?
I loved seeing Emma living in the Enchanted Forest and in the past that she had in common with everyone else. Everyone else lived there. They always talk about going back there, and that's their true home type thing. And then getting to see her put on the peasant's clothes and then dressing up and going to the royal ball, it just was a lot of fun to see.
Yeah, she got to be a princess.
And
finally.
the specific mention of We can't ever come this far without getting to play princess for a day.
The savior can't come this far.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, he did even say that. Yeah, and I wonder if we're going to get to see something like this again. We got to see her dance with her father, but that was just in David's dream.
Right.
Not an actual real life or flashback or anything, but it was a
Right.
precious moment, really.
Until, the doll head started spinning and all that stuff. It really was.
And maybe we'll get to see that moment again. Like maybe we'll get to see a Hook Emma wedding, and we'll see Emma dance with her father. We'll see her dance with Hook again.
I don't know if I should admit this, but when we started realizing there was a wedding happening at the end of this, we had just seen Hook and Emma kissing, and I thought, wow, that escalated quickly. Oh, they're not getting married right now. I get it. Okay.
And then you were like, Emma would never wear that outfit. And
I had not noticed the outfit yet, but
that's the first thing I noticed. I was like, what is happening right
it's
now?
not Emma's style, but I think it's Belle's style. I still
Aaron,
liked
that's
it.
because you're a girl. Girls notice the fashion. They're guys. They're not going to notice the fashion right away.
I think that 90% of the people who normally listen to this podcast realize that I rarely notice the fashion.
She was also about 3 inches big on the screen at that point, so I hadn't really seen it yet.
I thought it was
the
perfect
hats.
for her. She looked adorable.
What do you guys think about the Emma and Hook relationship and how it's on a new level now?
I think Emma's price is a ship. You
Like
sold your
his-
ship for me, or you traded your ship for me. Well, come here.
We know how Hook feels about that ship,
Yeah.
though.
Right.
I see them next season, him getting it back somehow. I don't know how
Yeah.
yet, but I see him getting it back.
He's
Or
going to
she'll
trade
get it
Emma
back
for it.
him. She'll get it back for him, maybe.
It will be their honeymoon vehicle that will have the little thing, the cans hanging off the back of the ship as they sail off, and it has a banner on the back that says "Just
Maybe they're-
Married."
Maybe they're gonna sail to Wonderland.
Wonderland. No, yeah, we don't go to Neverland. Nope, don't like that place.
Not going back there. It's out of magic anyway.
Oh, true.
I like that this episode we got to see her go from like they've always had that sarcastic banter back and forth between the two of them with that sexual tension, and then we got to see her soften up more and more throughout the episode until finally they got together.
Jacqueline, how are the fans liking this?
Depends on who you ask. The Captain Swan shippers over at the forum, obviously, very, very happy, very excited. I think most of them have changed their avatars to a picture of the new kiss.
The new kiss.
The new
Of
kiss.
course, that's what it's called.
So they're very excited. I don't know. I mean, anyone who talks to me for about 5 minutes is going to know that I don't ship Captain Swan. But, it's very hard for me to give an honest perspective here because I kind of agree with Jeremy. I don't like the way it was presented with this whole, you gave away your ship for me, and then, kisses. And I'm like, no.
That should be like, okay, I'll hold your hand.
You know?
Like we can start talking now about us. I don't know.
Well, the writers have done this before because remember back in the episode, what was it? The Heart of Darkness, when Snow had that potion and she didn't remember Charming, and he had to win her back. And at first he kissed her and she was all upset, and then he took the arrow for her, and that happened, and that's when she kissed him.
There is a marked difference between almost sacrificing your life for someone and putting your crew on land in order for them to get swept up by a dark curse, taking your ship out of the bounds of the reach of this curse, trading your ship for a plot device bean because, oh my god, how many of these beans are there? And then being all, I'm going to go to New York City, which I still don't know how he knew where he was. But, and please do not send me hate. But to me, when he said that, I was like, no. Now, look, I knew Captain Swan was coming. I've known it was going to come for some time. I've kind of been making my peace with it. But the way that conversation went on the bench kind of just made me head desk over and over because it's not something that's ever going to move me.
Sidebar. He sailed beyond the curse's purview. That's not a thing. That's why Korra had to put her dome of protection up.
But Korra didn't have a magical boat.
Well, okay,
Actually,
Hook
she would
did.
have. Never
and
mind.
she was standing right next to the guy who did.
But in this spell, it seems to be different. I mean, you saw that Prince Eric stayed behind. Like, certain people did not get affected by the spell.
Yeah, that's
Well,
true.
and also, this spell may not have affected all the realms, like or this curse may not have affected all the realms like the first curse did.
But it affected the enchanted forest. Hook's ship is enchanted to move fast. It is not enchanted to actually leave a world. It needs a thing to leave the world. So
Right.
this is kind of sloppy, put together explanation.
It's like the curse has been the foundation for the show's plot twice now. It'd be cool if the mechanics were consistent and communicated.
You kind of said something very similar to that in the finale of season 2, Jeremy.
Did I?
Like almost to the word, yeah.
Oh.
You were like, 2 years later, I'd like some curse something mechanics.
Nice. Nice. Well, at least I'm consistent
Clarification
with
is what you said.
myself.
Yeah, you said 2 years later, I would like some curse clarification.
I remember the phrase curse clarification. Hashtag.
Yeah. Jacqueline, what else do you have that you wanted to talk about?
Well, the only thing that I think still sticks out to me was one of my favorite scenes from the first hour, which was the Rumple Bell Emma Hook conversation in the Dark One's castle. It was so snarky and so fun, and I loved that Rumple and Belle are obviously smitten with each other, but they're like on two different planes of existence when it comes to how to deal with this. Belle's all like, I'm just going to flirt with you, and you're going to deal with it. And Rumple is, I'm going to turn you into a toad. And
I mean that in the best possible way.
yes. And it was nice to see that, because then we get to their wedding, and I'm like, you are lying through your teeth to this poor woman. And so it was nice to be reminded that their relationship in the beginning was just this epic, beautiful love story that I just completely fell in love with, and it's the reason why I became obsessed with this show.
Yeah, and this happens probably in the middle of Skin Deep, timeline-wise, because the curtains are open in that hall
So
at
is that
Rumple's
door.
Castle. Yeah.
I didn't know they did that anymore.
Oh.
Who knew when we owned 8,000 salad plates?
Well, before we talk about the last big thing, I want to thank a few people who left some kind reviews for us in iTunes. Pooja P, Your Chick Statement from Canada, and DL Karen, thank you so much for your kind reviews that you wrote for us in iTunes. The written reviews really help us because they encourage us and they help other people find the podcast too. So if you haven't left a review yet for the podcast, please go over to oncepodcast.com/iTunes, and we would really appreciate the support. Now, let's talk about Elsa. There are.
If you can see my camera. If anyone can see my camera.
Yeah. Olaf. There are some theories from the fans. Let me share this of who Elsa really is. Well, first, one theory came in from Gareth saying that at the end it's not Elsa, but it is the White Witch from Narnia. Alina thinks that Marion and Elsa are maybe sisters. Or, I'm sorry, they said, my new theory is Maid Marian is going to be Elsa's sister, Anna. And...
Wait, what?
What?
How does Marion fit into this?
yeah, that Marian is Elsa's sister, Anna.
Oh, no.
So a double name.
I'm going to say no.
And...
Love you.
That's NFJJFFJJJFJHF.
Okay.
That's actually the name that came through.
Okay.
Suggested that Elsa is Queen Ava's sister,
Queen
Snow White's
Ava's
mother.
sister. Okay.
Snow White's
Might
mother's
happen.
sister.
Do you have more?
That is it for different identity ideas about Elsa.
I might have mentioned this in the initial reaction. I think that we've recently seen someone who sometimes goes by Anna already, who may not look like the Anna in the movie. And this would be in Wonderland. But she does kind of look like who we just saw at the end of this episode a little bit.
does.
So
Yeah.
they could be sisters. And I think that, we may see her in Storybrooke at some point. There was an interesting... I'm going to go ahead and get my crackpot theory out of the way. Because when Emma got put into... It's way crackpot the more I think about it. But Emma got put into the dungeon with Marion in this episode. And suddenly she was wearing this blue cloak.
Emma was?
Yes.
When they were in Warehouse 13?
No. When they were actually in the dungeon. Not,
Oh, okay, not the vault. Okay.
not the vault, the dungeon.
Yeah.
Made me wonder about some kind of weird time fracture-ish weirdness wherein Emma somehow gets trapped in the past and gets all these weird powers and gets really mad, and she's been in an urn and she becomes... It's crackpot. It's super crackpot.
That is.
Super crackpot.
But Sarah agrees with your
I think it's
theory
just straight
that...
up Elsa.
Yeah, Sarah agrees with your theory that maybe Elsa and Anastasia are potentially related.
Cool.
That's a big theory over at the forums right now too. A lot of people have made that connection.
I think that that's a possibility. I don't so much like it. And Anna is Anastasia, and Anna is Anna.
But
So they're even spelled differently. But
They still said it that way, though.
Yeah.
they said what?
I think they said Anna, not Anna, didn't they?
No.
It's hard to tell with all the
No,
British
they called
accents
her
running
Anna.
around.
Yeah. And Anastasia has one N. And
Yeah.
Anna...
Oh, wait,
Well,
how did Will say her name?
I've seen it go both
Oh, yeah,
ways
'cause
on both of
He
them.
speaks like Cockney British. Yeah, I don't know.
So yeah, it. I don't know. There was the ice. There was the little flourish of whatever swirly twirly gumdrops coming from her ice shooting the ground. She's clearly got a toot on. She has the right costume. She has the right hair. She has the awkward sachet from the end of Let It Go. I think it's pretty clearly supposed to be Elsa.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I don't.
It's Elsa.
But she can't be a villain. I think that's just silliness. So I don't think that's where it's headed.
Well, about her being actually Elsa, we have confirmation, not spoilers, but confirmation, just clarifying. I mean, besides all of the obvious things that we've seen and how Disney-esque it is, like even the frost that comes out of her hands is in patterns like in the Disney movie Frozen. If you haven't bought Frozen yet or seen it, go to oncepodcast.com/Frozen to order it from Amazon. But also, some of the extra information that we've learned since then is in the ABC Upfront presentation that happened just earlier this week, where they have this presentation to the potential advertisers. They mentioned the CEO or the president of ABC said it's going to be a lot of fun having Elsa on Once Upon a Time, or something about, he said, Elsa in Once Upon a Time.
Huh.
And combining those two worlds. So he said that, and also Kitsis and Horowitz said in a recent interview on TV Line that they fell in love with the character Elsa as soon as they saw Frozen, and they got Disney's and ABC's permission to use Elsa in Once Upon a Time.
Well, good.
So it's not something that they had planned before. Well, maybe they did have it planned before the movie came out. When they saw the trailers, maybe they thought of it then. But it is more of a recent plan.
I think it's very recent because in a new interview, just I think yesterday from the Hollywood Reporter, they said that they actually shot 2 scenes, and the real scene, the one we saw with Elsa, they didn't tell anybody they were going to do except a very few select amount of people that needed to be told. And the other scene they shot is something they're going to put into the bank to use later, which is why they won't tell anybody what it is.
Oh, that's very
And
strange.
We do know from spoilers, I won't go into anything, but that they were interested in using Elsa. That is one of the characters that they had said they would love to bring in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm spoiler free, and even I knew that because people don't understand that I'm spoiler free. They don't like personally consult me before they post something to their Facebook.
That's like blowing cigarette smoke in your face when you're not a smoker.
Except kind of, I guess. Except way less drastic and gross.
Yeah. Well, hey, that's me. I like to exaggerate.
But yeah, I had seen like some posts that were like, but it was more, hey, we're gonna do Frozen sometime in the not too distant. It wasn't like tomorrow. Watch tomorrow. We're gonna do Frozen. So I was not expecting that. We'll see. I'm not. I agree with a lot of what Jeremy said in the initial reactions. Like Frozen is really new, and so that being said, have they all like gone to see Frozen together? And they're like, "Oh, that's a cool story," and they'll be like singing the songs, and then they'll be like, "Oh wait, it's a fairy tale. Ah, Elsa's here." Like, yeah.
Yeah, that's so funny. That'd be amazing.
Speaking of singing songs, maybe they could make an episode, a musical episode of Once Upon a Time. And I know the fans are kind of split on this. I think it could be cool because since they're basing so much of the styles and certain character names even on the Disney versions, Disney's reputation is musical animated fairy tales. And it would be great if they brought that into Once Upon a Time. Maybe they're planning that for like the second to last episode of the whole series or something. But it could be fun, I think, to have one musical episode just to give that homage to Disney. And it's not too far out of the park to get one of Disney's classic songwriters, Alan Menken, to do it because in the ABC Upfront presentation, they announced a mid-season show that's going to show probably during the winter hiatus of Once Upon a Time. It's called Gallivant, and it's a mixture of Spamalot and Princess Bride, and it's a musical. So it's set in fairy tale land kind of sort of thing. And the
Okay,
music...
that's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it looks pretty crazy, and you can find the trailers to it online, and we'll also embed one of the trailers over at oncepodcast.com/151. But the music is composed by Alan Menken. So he's working on a TV show for a musical, and it's every episode is a musical.
Right.
So they could very easily bring him over to Once Upon a Time to do one episode. Just one.
Yeah. I've never
Bah.
seen a bad musical episode of a TV show. I haven't seen that many, but I have not seen one that I dislike. So
I know
do
you've
it.
seen the Buffy one.
Yep. And the Grey's Anatomy one.
Oh, dear.
And Fringe had a musical episode.
I guess that's true.
How I Met Your Mother had musical
Oh, I
pieces in
haven't
them.
seen that one yet.
Star Trek
Well,
had
How
a
I Met Your
musical
Mother's
episode.
got like different episodes.
Sort
What?
of. Well, musical extras.
Oh.
I just love music, so basically anytime my favorite actors are singing, it's a good time, assuming they can sing.
One of the other theories about Elsa, about her possibly being a villain, came in from Zoe Romeo. She said, I think it's worth mentioning in the original Frozen storyline, Elsa was supposed to turn into a villain like the Snow Queen before songwriters wrote Let It Go. They changed the, that's not a quote. They changed the entire plot line to accommodate the complex Elsa we know and love. Elsa was supposed to destroy Arendelle, including Elsa in Once Upon a Time could be a fun way of still creating that plot line. The vase Elsa was trapped in was in a room Rumpel kept things he didn't understand or was afraid of, and I would add to this, he called them unstable, dangerous, and unpredictable. Yeah, that certainly describes Elsa. Elsa's cryokinesis is definitely something Rumpel would want to keep locked up, especially if she has a vendetta against him and cannot be controlled by him.
Yeah. I may have said this before. I find it highly unlikely with what we know of Once Upon a Time and the way they like to treat stories and characters that the story we know from Frozen, they would actually take and make the opposite. It sounds like a very Once Upon a Time story already. So, question is, how do they tell it without us feeling like, okay, it's the live action Frozen?
Right.
I will be very disappointed if they take that, like, because Elsa is such an amazing character in the movie. That's one of the reasons I love the movie. If they take that and twist it in a way that makes her evil, I won't like that at all. Just heads up. I'll be very angry. Because that song, it makes total sense that song was kind of the turning point of that character, because that song is so telling of it's really like an internal battle, and she's trying to control what's going on and she can't. It's not that she has any ill motives. It's actually totally out of love. So that could be something Rumpel doesn't understand, and she was very unpredictable. So hopefully they go with that angle.
I just hope she doesn't walk that way anymore.
I know, that was terrible.
Well, I can just say that I was not happy when I saw that.
I wasn't either.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the movie. I saw it in the theater multiple times. I owned it. I pre-ordered it. I own it. I love the movie. But I feel like they're riding on the success of Frozen, because they're pulling her into the show just to keep that going. I think Frozen is huge as it is by itself, and everyone's trying to get their little pieces of it. And when I saw that, I'm like, they couldn't have picked another villain.
Well, she's not even a villain, right? It's kind of, she's misunderstood, but she never once tries to attack people. She actually shuts herself away and wants to be isolated. So I'm excited, but I'm also really, really nervous that they're going to turn Elsa into this person who has some, first off, family connection, because of course, and that she's got
related to Rumpel. Rumpel
of
followed
course,
her story.
Of course, and that she's somehow got a vendetta against Rumpel or Regina or Snow, and that she's going to go after them, and that makes me really nervous, because that's a disservice to Elsa, and they've said that they are mainly drawing from Frozen right now. And the original fairy tale, the Snow Queen, she is much more evil, but that's not how it was presented in Frozen. So,
yeah, and remember that Kitsis and Horowitz will take their own spin on this. They've done that with everything. Remember Dwarf Eggs? So they're going to take Elsa, and they even...
And stealthy.
Yeah, stealthy. So they'll have their own spin on this, and most likely this will be chronologically after Elsa's fairy tale happened with everything in Frozen. So, or it could be in the middle. Who knows what they can do now that they've opened up this whole thing of time travel. And don't forget that wand is still out there in Storybrooke that Emma could use again, but that's a side point.
Well, now that they brought time travel into the show, they can use it again.
Oh, I don't want them to.
I
Yeah,
don't think they can.
They can't activate that again.
Yeah, I kind of think it was a one-time, we need to give Emma character development in the last 2 episodes sort of deal, so...
I think Elsa's really just their message to the fans after that whole thing. They're like, the past is in the past, let it go.
Yeah, they just need to make us a happy snowman.
A happy snowman!
Who likes
Oh my gosh.
bugs?
If Olaf isn't in Once Upon a Time, I am flying out to Los Angeles and speaking to Adam and Eddie. You have to include Olaf, please. He is my spirit animal.
Jacqueline, you need the little hula dancing Olaf.
There's a hula dancing Olaf?
Yeah, is my camera up? Is my camera
Yes.
up?
Yeah, we can
my
see.
Hello.
Yeah, with a nice little Hawaiian
my gosh.
skirt.
Yeah, right?
You need this in your car so that when you're driving over those little bumps, you see little Olaf dancing.
I gave it to my husband for Christmas, and he put it on his desk. And since I'm at his computer, I get to play with it.
So, overall, I wasn't real happy when I saw it at first. And then the last few days, I've been thinking, well, okay, so apparently it's happening. It clearly wasn't planned from the beginning of the series because Frozen isn't that old. But okay, so it's happening, so let's enjoy it. But then, honestly, watching that closing scene again, it just kind of rubs me the wrong way. I can only assume that whatever was wrong there isn't probably going to carry over to the actual season 4. I didn't like the fade out cuts they were doing, or whatever you actually call those, that made it feel like I was watching a movie trailer. And the slight sort of stuttering slow motion, it was very, very strange to me. And the stretch she did out the door was like, I don't know. She's like, I don't know.
They should have had the door
warrior
slam
princess.
right behind her.
Well, now that
I
would have
thought
been
they
funny.
were going to.
Oh yeah, or her like flip her hand so that it slammed like it did in the movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure what they're trying to communicate, and yeah, I guess that's the point.
Well, and this could be... Go ahead, Aaron.
I have a however.
Ooh.
Keep in mind, anything that I have said against having Frozen in Once Upon a Time is null and void if they get Idina Menzel and or Kristen Bell to come and be on Once Upon a Time. Okay, just
Or even the wickedly talented Adele Nazim.
Adele.
She would be awesome,
Yes.
too.
I like that you don't even
If I remember
say the
correctly, she's
Travolta name.
actually in a Broadway show right now. So
She
I
is.
don't know if that would be possible to get her.
it's her show too. So, and I think that means she has to kind of be there 9 times a week to perform it.
Yeah.
But you know, stuff happens. They take hiatuses and breaks.
Yeah, I could see them maybe making this a hook for season 4, but then dealing with this very quickly in the first couple episodes and then moving on to something else in season 4. What we know overall is Kitsis and Horowitz have said they know how they want this story to end, the whole series to end. So they know in some way, from that we can probably infer that they know how they're going to get there in some general way. But that doesn't mean they're not going to have a lot of stops along the way. Because even with Lost, when they started Lost, they knew how they wanted to end. But there have been multiple points along the way where they changed their mind on major plot point things in certain places where they had to stretch it out, kind of like a long trip to SeaWorld. And other spots where they had to
I
make
get it.
stuff... yeah. They had to do stuff that they didn't originally plan, but it was all part of adding and taking us to that final end point and certain stops along the way. So I wouldn't be surprised if Elsa is just one of those stops along the way that they'll integrate, but somehow will move us just a little bit closer toward the end game, whatever that is for the
Yeah.
series as a whole.
But on the one hand, they've got Once Upon a Time, which is decently big. On the other hand, they've got Frozen, which is gigantic.
$1 billion plus.
Audiences, many of us are fans of both. We really want to see it handled well, so I just hope that they realize what thin ice they're on.
Bum.
That would be a good moment to sing the song about the ice, but that's the one that nobody remembers and nobody listens to on the soundtrack.
No, it's the
I
first
listened
one.
to that song. I like it.
Oh.
Beware the Frozen Heart. It was very foretelling of what was going to happen in the entire movie.
Well, did you know originally they were supposed to
Cut
open the
through the
movie
heart.
with a different song? And it was a pageant with all the little kids telling the story of the Snow Queen.
Oh, wow.
I did.
Yeah,
not know
if you get
that.
the extended version of the soundtrack, it's on there.
Oh, cool.
This is the other thing that's going to happen. This is now going to be the Frozen podcast.
If it wasn't already.
Jeremy,
Well.
they were probably listening to the pre and post show already. They were like, "Oh, these guys seem to like Frozen. Let's do that."
They'll love us for it.
So it's all your fault, Jeremy. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
You can pick up your own copy of Frozen by going to oncepodcast.com/frozen and purchase other things too there while you're at it and shopping on Amazon, and that helps support the podcast. And by the way, speaking of Amazon, stuff that we don't yet have on Amazon that you can pre-order is the Season 3 soundtrack is not available. The Season 3 DVDs and Blu-ray are not available yet, but you'll be able to get those eventually once they're available. We'll make the link oncepodcast.com/season3 take you to a page with those Season 3 greats that you can check out and purchase. And your purchase helps support the podcast too, because we get a small commission off of sales that we refer to Amazon. And if you haven't watched Frozen, I highly suggest you do it before season 4 comes.
Yeah.
And then you'll know what all this stuff is. And you, too, will be singing Let It Go. Please connect with us. We'd love to hear your feedback, and you can continue the conversation that we've had here on these specific points by commenting on the show notes at oncepodcast.com/151, or start new conversations over in the forums at oncepodcast.com/forums, and send us your feedback and theories about season 4, about some of the things, the directions we might go from what we saw here at the end of season 3. Email that to feedback@oncepodcast.com, or call and leave a voicemail at 903-231-2221. You can also go to the website oncepodcast.com and send a voice message through the site on your computer or iOS device. And follow us and reach out to us as well on Twitter, Facebook, all of those social networks. And that's a lot of places, but all you need to remember is oncepodcast.com. That links to everything else that we do, all of our other sites and presences and the forums and email and feedback information and all of that. And we'd love to have your theories for upcoming episodes. Since the season is now over, our podcast schedule will be changing, that we're not going to be every week like we were before, but we will still do a couple things or a few things during the summertime, maybe some community events, maybe a rewatch. Maybe we'll collaborate with one of the other or a couple of the other Once Upon a Time podcasts and do a rewatch all together, some roundtables maybe. We've got some cool things coming, maybe some secret surprises as well. Don't miss it. One thing that I'll tease with is Maleficent, the movie, is coming out at the end of May. And
30th.
yeah, we will get a chance to screen it. So we will have an early review for you that we'll publish as quickly as we can. It will probably be the day of the movie due to our embargoes that we have on those reviews. But watch for that at oncepodcast.com. And please follow each of us on Twitter. I'm Daniel J. Lewis on Twitter at The Ramen Noodle.
I'm Jeremy Laughlin on Twitter at Phlegon. That's Phlegon.
I'm Erin, and I'm on Twitter at Erin J. Cruz.
I'm Hunter. I'm on Twitter at Bit of Pixie Dust.
I'm Jacqueline, and I'm on Twitter at punk_bunny_87.
And we couldn't do this podcast without our great team supporting everything here. Special thanks to Corbin for sorting our feedback, Jack for writing our show notes, John Buchanan for editing our episodes, Hunter and Jacqueline for providing spoilers, Jacqueline and Matthew Paul for moderating the forums, Jacob for help with screenshots, Keb for managing our timeline, Aliascape and Aaron J moderating the chat room, Jeremy, Aaron, Hunter, and Jacqueline for co-hosting this podcast, and big thanks to you for being part of this great community. Find all of our links and information at oncepodcast.com. And until next time, remember... I try to find it. It's okay. I've got extra space here. And until next time, remember, it's all in the tumblers. And thanks for listening. Once Podcast is a proud member of Noodle.mx Network. Find more of our award-winning and award-nominated podcasts to make you think, laugh, and succeed at Noodle.mx. Big thanks to our contributors for this episode of Once Podcast. If you'd like to donate and help keep the podcast running, please go to oncepodcast.com/sponsor, where you can find options for a one-time donation, an automatic monthly donation, or a per-episode donation through Patreon. That's at oncepodcast.com/sponsor. Okay.
Typing, the furious typing.
Let me re-say my ending.
My ending.
Can I stop
Your
my
ending?
recording?
No,
or
I
do you
was
want us to
re-saying
keep
my
going?
ending. Never mind.
And until next time, remember, it's all about the tumblers. And thanks for listening. I realized I missed the word about in there, so that's why I wanted to get that correct.
It's all the tumblers.
It's all about the tumblr.
Wait,
Wait,
That's.
oh,
I wonder
Can we
if that was a subtle nod to all of the fans who post things all over Tumblr.
Can we stop our recordings?
yes.
Yes.
That was like 2 hours.
That was, but we're still done early because
That's normal.
started on time.
Our longest episode, I think, was 2 hours and 40 minutes.
And
Goodness.
was that with all of us, or was that before us?
What
That
episode was that?
Well, actually, for a single episode, that was last week's episode, I think. But then there was our season 1 finale, which we split into 2 parts.
Because it was just so...
I was not a Once Podcast listener
Eat
yet
puck.
in season 1.
What? I've been
I-
listening since episode 1.
I did not discover this podcast until after whatever episode was before Queen of Hearts. Queen of Hearts was the first
the deep.
episode I listened to this entire podcast for.
Yeah, cool. Was it because of the ramen noodle that you found us?
No, I hadn't been on any. I found Once Podcast first. I think someone
okay.
just retweeted, and I found you, and then I did a rewatch that summer, so I rewatched and re-listened to your every
cool.
like corresponding episode,
And then you ended up a co-host.
and now we're here.
A co-host,
I heard
as I
them
like to
tweet a
say.
couple times before season 2 about spoilers, so I sent them an email.
Yeah. Yeah.
I found the forum first.
Oh,
And I was
really?
like, what is this thing that says podcast? Yeah. I was like,
It
oh,
is a
look, there are people
podcast.
talking.
That's awesome.
I always listen to podcasts at work, on my way to work, because I used to have an hour drive each way, and I always got tired of music after a while. So I was like, oh, podcasts. And then I started watching once. I'm like, wonder if there is one.
Oh, cool.
Once podcast. I'm starting to travel like a ton for work, so I need to find something productive to do with my drive other than just like singing at the top of my lungs.
Because you
I
can only
might
sing Let It
totally
Go so many
productive.
times.
Well,
I
I
started talking back to my podcasts. So
I have to talk all day at work nonstop, so my voice is already like I don't even know how I do this because then I talk for 2 hours on this podcast, but my voice is already usually shot by the end of the day. So singing all the way to work if I'm commuting for an hour and then back is just not going to be good for me. Maybe I'll
Yeah.
learn some more French or something.
Hunter, if you have started talking back to podcasts, that's a hint that maybe you should start your own podcast.
well, I listen to them and then I'll like agree with things, or I'll be like, no, what are you talking about? And I listen to a lot of Disney ones, and so I have friends that work at Disney, so I get a lot of the inside scoop.
Right.
And they'll be I'll hear something on podcast, and I'm like, you're so wrong. This is the way it's supposed to be.
I do
And I
that
actually
too.
talk with one of the guys on one of the podcasts, and I will once I'm done driving, I start texting him. I'm like, you were wrong about this, and this is here, and this is that. And he's just like, oh, okay, thanks.
Yeah, I talk back to like TV shows, radio announcements if they're wrong. I just have this thing where I have to correct people when they're wrong. I'm sure it's endearing, but
I do it
I
too.
have
It's
this
okay.
thing.
one of my like youth group posted this grammar thing from Grammarly, which I'm pretty sure is they usually post legitimate stuff. And to me, there was a grammar error in it. And I said, I can't tell if this is supposed to be funny because of the error or if they really don't know that there's an error. And she's like, there's not an error. And I'm like, there's an error. So now she hasn't answered again. So I don't know if I'm wrong or if she's wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right.
Daniel, can we
They
close out
were-
of Audacity?
Yes, if you've exported the file.
I'm exporting
Yes.
mine now.
Okay.
Oh, just so you guys know, I saw online today someone made a Frozen trailer, but it's like a horror film. And it
Oh,
is
I think I saw
awesome. Oh, wait, do I have the notes linked on this
that.
computer?
I think Dachshund posted that link in the chat room.
Dogs and the friendly troll.
Oh, I have it. Sweet. I'm
I don't
going to
think
just
he's
put it
in
in
there.
our
I think Dachshund could have come out of that urn.
Sure.
And tried to kill Emma. It would have been perfect.
Yeah, that's true.
In the chat, guys, I just put the link if you want to watch it later. It is hilarious.
In the chat, we've got
And that's in our chat, not the big chat, because I don't
Oh.
have
Yeah.
I can't do
Chat.
things.
I was like, no, you didn't. I know.
Oh
we're
no, you
delayed,
didn't.
I don't look at the other chat almost ever because spoilers. But right now would probably be a safe time.
but- No, I think she means. Oh wait,
I meant our personal chat.
like our hangout.
Google
Oh,
Hangout.
yeah. Jeremy can't see that. 'cause
You
he's not in it.
little
Oh.
dirties! I've
You
been
know-
betrayed.
You know what we could do is you can join the Hangout,
I enjoyed the hate. What?
and you could mute yourself, turn off your webcam, and I can
Jeez.
hide you from the stream, so you would at least, so you would no longer exist.
Yes, Jeremy, you can join our Google Hangout as long as you turn off your camera, mute your mic, and I hide you from the stream.
You can be seen, but not heard. In fact, it's best to not even be seen or heard. But no, you could at least join the event, the Hangout, so you could see our little chat room there.
Well,
Because
lovely.
what I was communicating there, I was mirroring over to sending you messages in either ways.
Yes.
Look
Well,
at you,
fine.
you multitasker.
I wondered why you sent just me that message. I was like, okay. Okay, I gotta run actually.
Yeah.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah, it's late and it's hot down here with these lights. I gotta
Yes, I
figure
would like to
my
turn
fan
my
off,
fan
it's
back
hot.
on.
Yeah. Thanks for suffering for the podcast.
Oh, you know.
Come on.
Guys are
Why is this not
self-sacrificial.
working?
I have to go to Walmart before it closes.
Do you want to go to Walmart?
Your Walmart closes?
At 11.
We could buy some junk.
Oh, ours tend to not close.
Ours are open 24 hours.
Well,
Yeah.
ours open for 24. One of ours in our city opens for 24 hours for the month of December.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
It looks like I put it in the Dropbox, Daniel.
Okay, great.
It looks like.
I'm not deleting anything, so if it doesn't, just let me know and I will resend it.
All right, wonderful.
Sniffle, sniffle. Sniffle, sniff. Sniffle. That's a song. Sing it. Sing it all night. Sniffle, sniff.
Oh, I also saw a video of Marines sitting there in their barracks singing Let It Go. It was hilarious.
It's everywhere.
There's like a group of like 10 Marines around a little TV singing Let It Go and dancing, and it was so funny.
That's
I'm sure
awkward.
it's not supposed to be cute, but.
Okay, we're going to
Okay.
go shut down the live stream. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, Hunter, Jacqueline,
Yeah, no
Aaron,
problem, it was
and
fun.
Jeremy.
Good night,
Yes.
everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night,
Have a
everyone.
lovely evening.
Good night,
night.
John boy.